Welcome, Stream Team. This is Bitstream coming to you today. And I wanted to talk to everybody just a little bit about the tax cuts that were just passed and how that affects cryptocurrency in general, and also just my general thoughts on cryptocurrency as a whole and its future, and how it all kind of fits together. And I wanted to take it back to, a few basic concepts that I think we need to understand when we're evaluating what to do with our cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in the future and everything, and just tie a couple of things together and connect some dots. So I think that the tax cuts are going to have an effect on the future of cryptocurrency, and I want to take you through exactly why I think that. I want to take you through how inflation affects things, debt affects things, and take you through a few of these items here. And I wrote down my thoughts so I can kind of stay on topic. So I just kind of want to loop through this, and hopefully it all makes sense. If it doesn't, just let me know in the comments below. This may be a more controversial video because once you get into politics and everything, people start to, lose their mind. So, but just to preface, I've been in finance for a very long time. I've seen a lot of different things. I'm actually educated in finance, so I've got a lot of background in this. So I'm not coming to you from the standpoint of being an amateur, but at the same time, I'm also not an economist. So I just want to preface it with that information, and I'm happy to have a conversation if you disagree with any of this or see it a different way. Totally happy to have that debate. Also, don't forget to hit that like button down there. Give me a subscribe and hit that little bell notification so anytime a new video drops, you'll be ready for it. And share the video on your social media. Let's educate people about how our monetary system works in contrast to the cryptocurrency system, so we can know what we're getting into when we're dabbling in cryptocurrency and why we're doing it. What value does it have? So let's see if we can answer some of those questions here. So I think that cryptocurrency as a whole is here to stay. And I'm not saying any particular currency. Right now it's looking like, the OG Bitcoin is here to stay, but just cryptocurrency in general, in some form or fashion, I think is here for the long run. And why I think that you have to first understand how our normal currency, US dollars, work, and how it works systematically, and how it works in contrast to cryptocurrency, and why cryptocurrency has value in the first place. So our US dollar is what they call fiat money, or a fiat currency. And if you come over here to the definition, you can see that fiat currency is currency that lacks any intrinsic value. It's only legal tender by decree of the government or the ruling body or the people. So it's not tied to any commodity like gold or anything like that. It's only tied to the faith of the bearer or the issuer of that particular product. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like that for a reason, because the reason why money came about in the first place is because it's easy to transact with. It's kind of like cryptocurrency, right? So you can't carry around gold bars and gold nuggets, or, before gold, you can't carry around a cow to barter with and all that kind of stuff all the time if you want to buy a cup of coffee. So you need some kind of unit of transaction that's universally accepted, that's easy to transport and easy to transact with. So that's kind of why that works. Now, the US dollar didn't always used to be fiat. It did used to be tied to gold, but it's not anymore since President Nixon, and we'll get into that, what happened with that, just a touch on that later. But some things about fiat currency is that it has no limit on how much can be produced. So you can print essentially unlimited amounts of dollars. Not, necessarily physically, but, in a computer system, there you can go to infinity as far as how many dollars exist in the system. So that has implications. And in terms of the US dollar system, it's also a debt-based fractional reserve lending system. And I know that's a mouthful, but basically that means that instead of being based on gold or tied to gold, the dollar is actually tied to debt. And that debt is issued via two main ways. The first of which being the fractional reserve lending system, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. And the second way is just by government printing. So the government, via the Federal Reserve, has the power to print money and create new dollars, and actually so do the banks. And pretty much anybody that makes a loan, but especially the banks, have the power to print money essentially by creating loans. Let me touch on the fractional reserve lending system while I'm kind of on that subject. So with fractional reserve lending, this kind of blew my mind when I first heard about it. So you think that when you go to the bank, you put in a couple dollars into a savings account, and they pay you a little teeny bit of interest for that. And they basically take your money and loan it out to somebody else to buy a car or something like that for the meantime until you take your money out, right? Well, actually what happens is that money that you put into your savings account, the bank has the right and ability to actually multiply those dollars 9 more times to create 9 times the value in loans elsewhere. So those new loans that are created are actually real money that is spendable. Let's say somebody's buying a house. That's actual money that goes into the seller's pocket. But that is money that was not there before you put your money into a savings account. So that is newly created money. Out of thin air, I guess you want to say. It's money that wasn't there. So by virtue of that, every time a fractional reserve loan is created, new money is essentially printed. So you also have on top of that the interest rate that is attached to that loan. So with that new loan and that new money, there is also a new interest obligation that must be paid back on top of that loan. Okay. So as that loan is paid back with interest, eventually the loan itself and the new money itself disappears by being paid back. But what's left is still new money in the money that was paid back on the interest of the loan. So as that loan balance goes to zero, you're still left with the interest that was paid. Where did that new money come from? Well, the merry-go-round comes back around, and it's earned by somebody through work or whatever, but it always comes back around to new debt having to be created to pay off the interest on those older loans. So that has profound implications on the value of a currency, because new money always has to be created for it to continue. And, over time, what that does is it's going to devalue the currency, and that's what they call inflation. So inflation is actually the rise in price of everything as compared to the unit of currency. So as time goes on, things get more and more expensive over time because of inflation, because new debt is being created. There's more dollars for the same amount of stuff out there. And with those newer and more numerous dollars, things cost more because there's more dollars out there that are available to buy the same amount of stuff. So I might talk about that a little bit later, because you can kind of get deep into that. And there's other videos that really go into it, but basically that's how it works. And it kind of sounds like a Ponzi scheme in essence, because it kind of relies on new dollars coming that weren't there before for the system to stay afloat. But it's really not, because it's all the dollars are still backed by the production of goods and services. So without that, everything falls apart. So if there's no more goods and services being produced, nobody's doing anything, everything falls apart. The production of new money is kind of like the oil that lubricates the system so that goods and services can flow. But that's kind of how it works. A very cursory look at it. It does, however, mean that those goods and services are going to get more expensive as time goes on because there's no mechanism to stop it. So there is no hard cap to say, okay, this is all the dollars that we can produce. It used to be like that, but that's also why they changed it. That's why Nixon changed it, because it kind of got in the way. But things are going to get more and more expensive in terms of dollars as time goes on. And there's nothing in the current system that's going to stop it. Now,